Hey guys, it's Michael from the Grande Bande. I'm here to tell you about a new series we're starting this fall. Part educational, part interview, this series dives into how the performers you've seen on stage and screen got to where they are today. This series is designed particularly for students as they begin to determine their career. If you've ever wondered how our musicians navigated their musical path, this is the series for you. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Hey Alina, it's so good to see you.
Hey Michael, it's so good to see you too.
It's been such a long time. How are you?
I know, right? I'm doing fine.
Good.
I'm living it up in my car currently.
That's great.
I'm not living here, but I do make music here sometimes.
That's great. So you just got done with the coaching, right?
I did. I just got done with the coaching. It was it's a unique experience. We do coachings now in separate rooms,
Okay.
with a hallway in between and a plexiglass shield separating me from the
Oh my
coach.
goodness.
And it is a weird experience, but it's better than not making music. And
Right.
as much as I've learned to love and accept Zoom and Skype lessons,
Right.
I'd rather do this.
Right. It's nothing beats it being in person, right? Even if you have a plexiglass wall in between you.
Yeah, truly. Sure. So my name is Alina Tamborini. I am a soprano. I started out as an oboe major. I wanted to be a professional oboist
Okay.
and a music education major,
Sure.
which I still use to its fullest potential right now. But I found out that halfway through my undergrad degree, I was like, oboe is not for me. And by oboe, I mean making reeds. So
Sure.
therefore, I think oboe.
Yeah.
And I loved singing. I got cast in a role that I was probably a little too unexperienced for, but like did a great job and thoroughly enjoyed it. So I decided to become an opera singer professionally. So I went to grad school out in Long Island at Stony Brook
Nice.
University
Okay.
and have been singing ever since. So I'm a soprano. I'm a lyric coloratura.
So
And-
what does that mean? I know, because like opera, there's specific voice types. So what does that mean? I mean, if
Sure.
you know, I'm a beginner, I don't know anything about opera.
Yeah.
What is
I'll
that?
break it down
Like,
for you.
yeah, translate that for me. That'd be great.
Okay, so in choir, we have sopranos, mezzo-sopranos,
Mhm.
altos,
Yep.
tenors, and I think it's bass or baritone.
Yep.
But in the opera world, it's soprano, mezzo, tenor, baritone, bass.
Okay.
And those are the 4 or 5 voice classifications,
Sure.
countertenors as well.
Okay.
And in even deeper is you can classify voices based on how heavy or light, how dark, how bright, how flexible, how high, and whatnot. So
Sure.
my classification that I find that fits me best
Mhm.
is lyric coloratura, which means I can sing really high and really fast, but I still have some of the like darker coloring that you might find
Sure.
in a more full-bodied soprano, a
Okay.
lyric soprano.
Sure.
And there are lots of classifications from highest and most agile down.
Okay.
Again, down not meaning in like goodness, but
Right. Like
more
tone color, right?
color.
Like sure.
yeah, it's really all about color. So there's
Okay.
coloraturas, lyric coloraturas, soubrettes, lyrics, spinto, and dramatic. So those are the basic voice classifications that most voices tend to fit into.
Nice.
It can be kind of limiting.
Sure.
So I'm not always a fan of the system, but it has let me find. So if I search other lyric coloratura sopranos, I can
Mhm.
see, oh, where are they singing?
Sure.
What houses
Sure.
are they singing at? What roles
Sure.
are they singing? I want to do that too.
So
Yeah.
it helps you find kind of what your voice type would fit, and so it helps you find a repertoire and things that you would like to
Exactly.
learn.
So I started singing. Well, first, I grew up in Michigan.
Okay.
I spent 25 years there, where my state is shaped like a mitten, and I'm right in the middle, right there.
Okay. That's great.
I started singing and doing music from a very, very young age,
Okay.
not with the intention to become a professional musician.
Sure.
So I was enrolled in early childhood music classes at a local
Okay.
community music school
Okay.
for babies. It was birth
Wow.
through 7.
Amazing.
And I took those classes as like a 1, 2, 3-year-old kiddo. Just because I think those classes are really important for kids, regardless of
Sure.
whether or not they want to go into music.
Right.
There are a lot of benefits. We can definitely talk about that later because
Definitely.
I know teach those classes.
Awesome.
But I took piano lessons around age 7.
Okay.
Then I was in music all throughout elementary school. I was lucky enough to be at a school that provided music for kids K-12.
Okay.
I joined band in 6th grade with the oboe.
With the oboe, right.
Yeah, joined choir in 6th grade.
Okay.
And was in band choir 6th grade through 12th grade. I was in orchestra 9th through 12th with the oboe.
Okay.
And did all the musicals,
Sure.
did all the plays, just was a part of music in any way possible. And I kind of fell into the group of kids in band that wanted to be musicians. They were all the daughters and sons of the band directors or composition faculty at the university, Michigan State University.
Okay.
So all my friends had very musical backgrounds, very musical parents, and were just on the path to becoming musicians. And I just happened to be friends with them. So around my junior year of high school, I was like, hey, I really like this. I want to be a math teacher, but loved math. I was good at math. And then I was like, no, I got to do music. All my friends are doing music. So I did music and I loved it. I loved being a music education major. I still love teaching music education in a number of different outlets. But like I said, oboe wasn't for me.
Right.
So I switched to singing and haven't looked back. No, I don't think, no. They gave us a list. Again, I was very lucky to grow up where I did. And they're growing up next to a university that has such a strong music program.
Right.
There were always graduate students or master students or even undergraduate students who wanted to get better at teaching. So my school handed a list out to every student that was involved in music at the beginning of the year and said, here's a list. It was anywhere from 2 to 15 different teachers that you could choose from. Like call this person, see if they have an opening in their studio. Like the bassoon teachers and the tuba teachers, there were only 1 or 2 of them, but there were lots of violin teachers, lots of voice teachers. So I took oboe lessons since I was, how old was I in 6th grade? 11? I took oboe lessons with Gretchen Morris, who was phenomenal. She was an oboe player in the Lansing Symphony Orchestra. Loved studying with her. And I didn't take voice lessons until quite a bit later. And I think that's a good thing. And people will say different things. I teach young students, but my voice would have not been in a place that would have benefited from really intense training until partway through high school. And that's not the same for everyone. That was just my particular voice. I'm glad I started when I did. I started taking voice lessons as a sophomore, kind of, but then really only seriously when I was a senior in high school. Oh, look,
there's the bus.
How exciting.
Definitely New York.
I know, right? So I started seriously taking voice lessons the summer before my senior year. And that just happened to be perfect for me. Granted, these were like serious lessons. Was I involved in anything vocally musical I could do outside of choir? Absolutely. Doing the honors choirs, doing choir camps, show choir camp. Not sure if I'm proud of that one. I think that was pretty fun. But like not something I would do anymore. So, but a lot of schools nearby where I grew up did have lessons at their school. Growing up right next to Michigan State University. I student taught at Hazlitt, a high school, and they had 3 voice teachers come in from Michigan State University every week, and you would go out during choir class 1 day a week and have your half-an-hour lesson. So I went to Michigan State University. Best decision of my life. My father is a professor there. He's a communications professor. So I got to be honest, half off tuition was a big reason I went there. And
Sure.
I was, again, lucky enough and to have some sort of scholarship, both as an oboe performance major and a music education major. So I did 5 years at Michigan
Okay.
State. I was double majoring in oboe and education
Okay.
for the first 2.5 years.
Okay.
Like I said, a little bit after sophomore year,
Right.
on my junior year, when I got that role, I was like, oh man, I kind of like this. And I was already somewhat on my way out of being an oboe performance major. It wasn't the life for me. And I thought
Sure.
I wanted to be a choral conductor.
Okay.
And that would have fit really nicely with the music education degree that
Right.
I had and was working so hard for.
Right.
But as I think I would have been a good professional choral conductor, but I loved opera too much. I couldn't help it. Oh, no matter what I did. So I was in the opera from there on out.
Okay.
I ended up doing 7 operas there, 5 roles. I did La Boheme and Magic Flute. I was in the chorus for those. And then I had roles in Così fan tutte by Mozart and Handel Xerxes. And I did a new opera called A Room with a View, contemporary opera in English in the late 90s.
Okay.
Always fun to sing in English. Did
Yeah.
Elixir of Love. Oh, and I went to China. That was the coolest part. Our school has a China exchange, and this was
That's
the
amazing.
10th anniversary. Oh my God, so cool. Normally they do concerts of art songs and arias, but since this was the anniversary,
Yeah.
10-year anniversary, we did 2 operas. We did a Bernstein
Oh
review
my God.
and a Chinese opera in Mandarin. I was not a part of that one. I just did the Bernstein
Wow.
review.
That's
Right?
amazing.
Yeah. So we had everything was double cast, and we split the casts. So it would be half of the students from China, half of the students from
Sure.
America. Same with the double casting. So
Sure,
that
sure.
was something else, a very pivotal moment in my career as an opera singer that told me that this was what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing my oboe degree.
Mm-hmm.
I performed in a couple of local bands, local orchestras,
Okay.
and applied for grad school. And I chose Stony Brook because of my teacher, Brenda Harris.
Okay.
My coach at my undergrad, Dr. Ellen Little,
Mm-hmm.
recommended her tenfold. And I was
Sure.
like, okay, you are recommending her so strongly, so I guess I should just do it. Yeah. And then I went to Stony Brook and got my master's degree there in vocal performance.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of fell in love with contemporary music as well.
Sure.
Performed a lot of Baroque music. It was a very well-rounded education because I grew up as a choral singer. So
Right.
all of the chorals, or all the chorals, all of the choirs,
Right.
anything extra. Anytime a grad student was like, hey, can you be in my graduate recital choir? Yes, sure. We're doing a master's recital for our choral conductors. Can you do that? Absolutely. I am there. And vocal performance was a lot different. I had to sing differently. I got to be a soloist and make my own choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that. Yes, there's so much validity in being a part of a choir because you get to create more of a collective sound. And I really value and miss it a lot.
Right.
But what I wanted then and what I think I still want now is to be an opera singer, performing roles and creating music with my fellow actors and actresses, as well as the musicians in the orchestra. Yes, absolutely. And that's, I don't want to say vital.
Okay.
Because you can have careers without doing those types of things.
Right.
But most singers do go through some sort of outside training from academia.
Sure.
So my very first one, it was a very light, it was a great gateway into this young artist track that all singers tend to get on.
Right.
I did the Vancouver International Song Institute. That's what it is. I don't know if it's still a program anymore, but it was a 2-week program to learn how to sing art songs in Spanish, Italian, and French.
Okay.
And there were some concurrent art song festivals, one having to do with just Schubert and Schumann,
Sure.
and another
Okay.
one having to do with contemporary art song.
Okay.
But I got to sing for outstanding musicians. Isabel Bayer-Kadarian, Graham Johnson. I didn't even know who these people were at the time.
Right.
Like, who?
Sure.
Graham? What? And after the fact, like, would tell people later on, I got to sing for Graham Johnson. Like, what? Was it incredible? I'm like, yeah, it was pretty great. I didn't know what I was doing. So they help train you and specialize you in certain areas of performance.
Sure.
After that, I did opera in the Ozarks.
Okay.
Amazing experience. 9 weeks in the middle of Arkansas with tarantulas and rattlesnakes and
Oof.
armadillos. And it was not an environment I was used to, but I got to experience what it was like to be a real professional musician outside of academia.
Sure.
We put on shows in those 9 weeks, fully costumed, fully staged, full orchestra, full chorus. And that was just so cool. It was so nice to be able to focus in all of my skills on just music. And I love academia. I really do. I love studying. I love learning. But sometimes it can be hard to balance practicing and translating scores in other languages and learning how to speak these languages properly while also taking a writing class or a math class. Again, which I loved. But doing opera in the Ozarks gave me a great taste of what it was like to be a professional musician. And then I did Teatro Nuovo for the next 2 summers, first as a studio artist, which they're like tiers. You have resident principal artists, resident artists, apprentice artists, studio artists, and it's all ranked to some degree. And I did Teatro Nuovo, did this wonderful Mozart project where we learned the most effective way to learn a Mozart opera role. And it was filled with training. So we had Italian lessons, we had lessons on ornamentation, we had lessons on the history of bel canto. Bel canto is an era style of singing, one that I feel most comfortable in. And Teatro Nuovo is based on the pillars of the bel canto era of singing. So I did that for 2 summers, and I was going to do it again last summer, but they obviously had to cancel the singing. We did actually do some of the classes. Very grateful for that.
Yeah, nice.
But I'll do that one next summer. So yes, those are more summer programs. You can also do operas locally. You can be in choruses locally. There's so many local opera companies that you can be a part of. Just audition with your favorite art song, your favorite aria, something from a choir even, and then you can be in the chorus and be a part of these professional experiences and sing with outstanding singers. There's so many singers I've sang with that I was like, how in the world am I on stage with you? Oh, great. So yeah, definitely do outside training programs if you can. So there's a pipeline of things you can do as a professional opera singer. It's not a lot of people do this just because it's like the top 1% of opera singers, the best of the best. And I am unfortunately a soprano, so there are like 7 to 3 of me in the world. Honestly, it's more like 9 to 1 of the opera world. Most of us are sopranos. So what you can do after grad school or before grad school, most people do it after their master's, you can get a performance degree or a professional performance diploma, which is like not a degree but a certification diploma, something. Or you can do year-long young artist programs where you work for a company as an opera singer, and that is your job. They put on anywhere from 2 to 5 shows a year. There are these companies in almost every state. There are about a handful, 10 of them that are the cream of the crop, the most professional ones. But there are so many local opera companies. So I spent a lot of last year auditioning for these local companies while I'm still young. I don't have an agent. I'm not I don't have a lot of experience outside of school under my belt, and that's definitely something that these bigger programs want to see.
Sure.
So I auditioned for, I live in New York. We have 5 boroughs: Staten Island, Queens, Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan.
Okay.
And because I live in New York, there are a lot of local opera companies, including opera companies out in Long Island, which is just east of the city. And there are plenty in New Jersey and Delaware and Connecticut. So I auditioned for a number of companies on Long Island. This is right. I auditioned for some of these actually even before I graduated, knowing that they would have seasons.
Sure.
In the fall of my first year out of school. Brooklyn company, Bronx Opera, Riverside Opera.
Okay.
There's a company in Harlem, I think. I'm lucky. There are tons around.
Right.
So I auditioned for a lot of these. I also auditioned for a lot of competitions, and that was where I found my most success last year, was auditioning for different competitions in New York.
Sure. Okay.
Because that's where all these big competitions go, is in the city.
Right.
But I knew I wasn't going to be earning an income from singing right out of school.
Right.
Most people who are making some sort of income as a singer out of school get around 40% of their income from singing.
Sure.
If not less, at my age, and for a little bit longer even too.
Okay.
So there's a number of different things you could do, correlating careers. I was lucky. I had a music education degree, and I loved teaching. So I taught my first year out of school.
Okay.
I auditioned and sang when I could with Teatro Nuovo, because I did stuff throughout the year, sang at donor events and different little mini recitals and concerts.
Sure.
But for the most part, I was auditioning and teaching. I taught early childhood classes. I taught lessons voice lessons, piano, ukulele, guitar. I think that's all I do. I think those are the only, early childhood lessons. I teach a number of choirs, singing in a church choir.
Mm-hmm.
So just trying to do anything. Personally, I wanted to do something that was still musical.
Sure,
of course.
It's
important to have a correlating career that's flexible.
Right.
But it also is important for it to not be something that's too vocally strenuous. And you know what? Teaching can be exhausting.
Yeah.
And there are days that I'm like, oh no.
So much talking. What am I doing?
So much talking. So I talk up here and I try and teach all of my ukulele lessons like this. And my little 5-year-olds look at me like I'm nutso. But yeah, so I did that. I sang in a number of I do a lot of contemporary music, which I know we'll get to, but I did a lot of work for new composers. Become friends with composers. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they?
Friends with composers.
Yeah.
Whoo! And it goes both ways. Like, I'm looking for a new piece. So and so, can you write me a piece? Sure. It'll cost this much. Okay, great. So I'll commission a composer. Or, hey, Alina, I wrote a new piece for soprano and tuba. Can you sing this for me? Sure. And then eventually it goes back and forth where we I do a lot of favors for composers, and therefore have wonderful working relationships with composers. Always pay composers if you can. And I've learned that working with a lot in contemporary music.
Right.
These people are alive. They're doing this stuff right now.
Right. This is their job, right? It is what they try to do for work.
Right. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh, right. And then of course the pandemic hit.
Right.
All live performance was canceled.
Right.
Like I said, my summer program was canceled.
Yeah.
I think I had 3 competitions that I was a semifinalist for, all canceled. Oh. Still wrote that I was a semifinalist on my resume though.
That's important. Well, you still got that, you still got to that level. So just because the final round didn't happen, it doesn't matter. I mean, you still still reached that point. So
right. Yeah. So I put it out there. Right, the pandemic, because that's what makes my brain turn into mashed potatoes. Of course, and this will be a perfect segue. So my live performance is canceled.
Right.
I started teaching a lot more.
Okay.
Like a lot more.
Right.
I got creative with how I taught outside in masks.
Right. Sure.
With barriers.
Sure.
Did a few virtual recordings.
Okay.
Solo wise and for Teatro Nuovo, that company that I work for.
Right. Yep.
But I was able to remain pretty active with my my ensemble. I'm in a trio, Sputterbox. Yeah. And we actually put out an entire album during quarantine.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
how did I not know about this?
Oh my gosh, you'll have to check it out.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Box.
What is it called again?
Sputter Shrinks the Box.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah.
I'll put a link in the YouTube thing for the students and for the public so they can check it out.
Yes. So I'm in a trio. It's clarinet, voice, percussion. Very weird instrumentation. There is hardly any music written for that instrumentation, that ensemble.
Sure.
Well, there used to be.
Right. Until
us. So there were probably 7 pieces that were composed for voice, clarinet, percussion, and like any version, mezzo clarinet percussion, voice, bass clarinet percussion, and then all different types of percussion. Like we looked on the internet for hours and hours and hours and hours trying to find this makeup app. And I can talk more about them, but we put out a call for scores at right at the beginning of the shelter in place. Like, hey, composers, this is our trio. We're doing it for voice, bass, clarinet, and djembe, which is a type of drum. Okay. Can you write us a 1-minute piece and we'll record it? And blah, 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 blah. So we did that. We got initially around 40 people were interested in writing with us. Right? In the end, it was 29 composers, 28 pieces. And we turned it into a fundraising campaign. Nice. So we asked for donations. They could be specific towards a composer or a general donation to be split among all composers. Sure. And we were able to pay our composers. I mean, it wasn't a lot, but they were expecting nothing, and we were able to give and expecting nothing out of the generosity of their own hearts. Yeah, you know. Right. This was a weird time. Like I said, always pay composers, but when all of your income is cut off, you gotta get creative. Yep. And luckily, people were very generous at the beginning of the quarantine to musicians. Right. Like, we know that your life is kind of right now. Right. And still. Yeah. Like, let's be clear, I'm not performing live still. But the album was we ended up getting so many pieces that we turned it into an album. That was never our intention. So it's on Bandcamp. We sold our album on Bandcamp Day when all proceeds go to the artists, and have been making profit revenue from that and giving our composers royalties. So anytime someone gets right, it feels nice to be able to do that. Granted, it is super exhausting to figure out how to split. One person buys our $10 album, right? Splitting that like 28 ways is tough, but that's the calculator comes out, right? Yes. Oh my gosh, I've gotten so good at Google Sheets and calculating and all that jazz. But we stayed very active. We did get to record together once. We were in our little COVID bubble, got tested, and made sure everyone was safe. Made a recording of 2 pieces and have been editing them still. But other than that, we put all of these videos up on Instagram. Okay. We sold the album. The videos are up on our website too, I think. Okay. They're going to be released on YouTube as well. Nice. But we tried to stay active because we couldn't perform live, and contemporary music is I feel like so oh, we're interdisciplinary arts ensemble. So we don't just do music. We do dance, movement, theater. We try to incorporate visual arts. We're currently working on a really cool collaboration with a dancer, choreographer, and a dancer artist who are both melding all of this these artistic disciplines together.
Nice.
So some of that's lost over video recordings.
Right, of course.
And I really miss making music with my trio. I'm grateful for the 3 rehearsals that we got together, but I want to make music with them again.
Right. There's just nothing like being in person with people. And that's, that's because this is the third video in the series, in case everybody's watching this third video in the series. So you're the third person that has said, and it is hard. You get so used to being able to be with audience members, with the people that you're playing with, singing with, whatever. And then when that can't happen, it feels like there's something like just totally missing. That the virtual stuff, no matter how many things you do over the virtual thing, it just doesn't replace it. I mean, Zoom is great, doing the virtual things because you can still do things, obviously. But being in the same room right next to the person, it just, that interaction and that wonderful feeling is just, that's just the thing that everyone is missing right now.
Yeah. Play the piano.
Why?
Do not stop lessons. Do not stop playing piano ever. If you have an opportunity to play piano, take it. If you find a free piano on Facebook Marketplace, find a way to make it yours. I learned so much at a young age from taking piano lessons.
Sure.
And so that put me ahead and really helped me with my theory knowledge and my ear training skills. But now as someone who teaches lessons and teaches choirs, and there are I'm not hiring accompanists right now.
Right.
Barely hiring myself.
Sure.
Being able to play piano is crucial. If you want to teach voice, because we don't have context unless you have perfect pitch.
Right.
I can't put a finger down on my cheekbone and another one on my chin and magically pop out a B flat.
Right.
So all my voice lessons, all my warm-ups, I'm next to a piano, and I can do a great basic chord progression.
Sure.
Bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
Bum 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 bum. Like, fine, but I can't do much more. And I notice when I teach lessons, I wish I could give my students more than the bass line and the melody. I wish I could do more than just chords. I wish I could do the intricacies of the accompaniment, because that's how the piece was written. I wish for my choirs I could play the piano part.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that can be learned from playing piano. It's such a grounded instrument. And as someone who is very energetic and all over the place, sitting at the piano is when I feel most
Sure. Yeah.
I've definitely found ways by now of feeling grounded when I sing, but when I play piano, I know I'm grounded. I can't move around. So that would be my best advice, but I know that's also not always the most accessible advice.
Yeah, sure.
So my advice, if you cannot get your hands on a piano or piano lessons, is to find musicians that you enjoy and listen to everything they do. And then once you've found singers you enjoy and listen to everything that they've done, decide for yourself why you like that singer.
Sure.
I wish I thought more critically at an earlier age. I like opera singers, but I wasn't able to say why.
Sure.
And I think I was able to say why I liked certain orchestral pieces.
Sure, of course.
A lot earlier than I could say why I like certain singers. And what I don't like. I mean, I'm all for framing everything in the positive.
Yeah.
But there are singers out there that I don't want to listen to.
Sure, of course.
And that's okay.
Yeah,
They're just not my style. And they have a huge fan base. So listen to everything and be critical. Ooh, and be okay with listening to old recordings. Honestly, the closer to 1900, the better.
Really? Why do you say?
Because, and this I think this applies more to singers than instrumentalists. Okay. I think.
Sure.
But the age of the microphone changed so much. And when was that? I can't remember. 20s? Who knows?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. The early 1900s.
Early 1900s.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
And so the first, vocal recordings were around the turn of the century. Mm-hmm. And we have recordings of the human voice singing as early as, I want to say 1899, but I know 1900.
Sure.
And trust me, you got to get used to them. They are scratchy, they're weird.
Yeah, sure.
But they're the voice in the purest form. And singers have gotten used to hearing singers to sing with microphones.
Right.
Where you don't have to use your full vocal potential. And it warps the sound of a voice. Mm-hmm. And there are definitely careers that need microphones. A majority of the time. I do not want to hear any of my pop artists sing without a microphone.
That would be weird. Right? That would be weird, yeah.
And I don't want to hear musicals that were written after the 50s without microphones either, honestly. Because they were written for singers knowing that they would use microphones.
Right, just a little bit of more, like just a little bit extra amplification to help carry through the hall, yeah.
Right, especially as instruments got louder.
Right.
Like, I wish they did. Trombones are much louder today than they were in 1900.
Right.
Because they are made differently.
Right.
So be okay with be okay with listening to old recordings. Mm-hmm. Listen to everything you can do. Learn to read music. I mean, obviously, if you have the means to do that with a teacher, great. But there are wonderful free resources.
Super great videos on YouTube. YouTube University, do it. It's free.
Especially right now.
I know, right?
We're in a pandemic.
Yeah.
You know how to use YouTube.
Yeah.
Go on YouTube. Go on TikTok. I've learned music things on TikTok. Jacob Collier.
Oh, he's great.
Oh my gosh, he taught me
so
many
good.
Things.
So
Who's
good.
that other guy? Adam Neely. Adam Neely does.
Yeah.
I think he's the jazz guy. I think it's Adam Neely and Jacob Collier. I don't even know if I'm saying their names right. Listen to everything they do. Watch interviews. Just involve yourself in music outside of just singing in the choir, of just singing pop music on the radio, of just singing songs in the bathroom. You will learn so much. Okay, I can't answer this question honestly because my dream role is Carmen in Bizet's Carmen.
Okay.
But Carmen is usually sung by a mezzo.
Sure.
Or a really full body soprano like Maria Callas did Carmen. Sounded great. I like hers better than some of the mezzos. Don't tell any of my mezzo friends. Do not tell them.
I'll make sure to cut that one out.
Okay, thank you. That would be my dream role. I think the plot of Carmen is not that great, but I love Bizet's music. I've never been so moved by music than when I was performing. I performed the role of Frasquita in Carmen. She is one of the other characters.
Sure.
So that's my fake dream role. I think my real dream role would be I don't know. There's so many. Constanza in Die Entführung aus dem Serail.
Oh yeah.
By Mozart.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I don't know if I'll ever sing it, but it definitely was a big dream. Eleanor Ford in Peter Grimes by Benjamin Britten.
Yep.
Woo! I would go nuts if I could sing that. Oh my gosh, Pamina in the Magic Flute. Okay, so this was definitely like a pick one type of question.
But I mean, like 5 is okay too.
And Amina, I couldn't remember her name. Amina and La Sonambula by Bellini.
Mm.
And that's it. So those are my dream roles.
Sure. I mean, the more that you start listening to music and the more that you start just listening to so many things, I constantly find when I'm like programming things, and I'm, you know this too, the more
Right.
that you listen, the more things you find that you really love. You find things you hate, it happens, but you find so much good music out there that you put on your list of like, yes, I definitely want to do that. I mean, that has to be on a program some point within, the next like 50 years of my life. I just have to do it. Yeah, so there's so many good things out there that people can do. And that's why,
Yeah.
I mean, that's why there's so many roles that you want to do, because there's so many good operas out there.
There's so many. Like you said, it's so easy to rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
One thing will lead you to a next. And
Right.
there's just so much good music out there.
Right.
And I have noticed that in your programming. It's always diverse.
Oh,
It's
thank
not
you.
I really love that about your programming. You'll like the things that people know, and then
Yeah.
the tangentially things that people know, and then the look at this cool new thing that you have never heard before,
Right.
but you should have because
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe even if music is not your career path,
Mm-hmm.
just be involved in it. There are always going to be ways to do music. If it doesn't matter if you're like not the leading soprano on the stage,
Sure.
join a community choir. And you know what? If you do something really cool like coding or a lawyer and then you make a lot of money, support the artists.
Yeah, right.
Go to the operas.
Yeah.
Go to the symphony. Support local artists.
Right.
But just stay involved, because there are a lot of opportunities for you to stay involved in music throughout your life, even if it's not your career.